Well, we're going to be cutting an ERGO button, and I thought I'd just talk to you while I get the machine ready to roll. Maybe explain what we're going to do. And so let's see, I had a fun conversation with this guy Stan that I'm doing this for. Real nice guy. I like him. And he made a comment. He said, that you have this idea in your mind of a shape and then you fulfill it like a slider. It just kind of appears. That's an interesting observation. I think he's a very insightful individual because the experience that I have of creating these things is something I haven't thought about very much. I take off jewelry, of course, anytime I work with the machine. This is the lathe here. And but it is true. I think he's kind of accurate in what he said, that the shapes exist in my mind pretty clearly. I mean, I can very clearly visualize all the many options I have for what's going to happen. Why don't we go inside and let's grab the slider, and I'll show you some of the things that have to be thought about a little bit in this process. Of course, we have the recording area over here, and here we have, let's take a look at a button. Okay, there's an ERGO button. It's my ERGO button. This. Well, so what are the things that have to be decided on? Well, the shape on the back side is very important. It has to have curvature, but not too much. Okay? As an example, if it had too much curvature, it wouldn't be as comfortable to press. This way, as the flesh goes against it, it's very comfortable. The edge has to be rounded. That's very, very important. Now, this section here, that section on the side, you don't touch it, so that's a somewhat cosmetic issue. It does have to be fit perfectly to the slide, of course, and I'll show you how we do that. So one question is, how much distance do I want? How big, how long should the button be? And the answer is about 1/4 of an inch longer that away than the stock button, because that allows this small template harp, physically it's rather small, to get that button away from your face, so when you press the button in, you don't hurt it. Now, this is a button that was a cast off. It never got finished. I just thought it was nice looking, though, and I kept it because I thought it was kind of cool. But I ditched it because there's a decorative line near where you touch, and I don't like that. But it did look cool. I made one that looked like a bumblebee once. That was kind of fun. Let's go get his slide. That's it. And we'll go get started here. Now, one thing I gotta do, and it's always, you want to take real good care of your equipment when you have something like this monstrosity here, which is a 1946 South Bend lathe. So I'm gonna put this here, and I'm just going to sweep up the floor a little bit because it has a little dust on it. I'm going to be working on it. I'd like to at least start with a nice little clean area. Like that, no big deal. Okay, And so to lubricate it, I have various oils here. And I just kind of, I have a little oil holder like that, and I put it in till it dribbles out like that. These are actually holes that I go into to feed oil, capped areas. So in other words, I'm not even going to start this thing until everything's been lubricated. These are called the ways right here, and this is what the saddle, this big piece here, runs on. And this needs to be well lubricated so it's actually sliding on oil, not metal to metal, and that's how you make these last for a long, long time. So it's real slick, real slick. So come in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil here in this one, and a little bit of oil here. And I think it would make sense to, let me just make sure that I did. So here we have this, and then this thingy. Just going to go here. Plugged in. Okay. And there's some other areas I want to hit with oil too. Here, this area here is very, very important. This is what's called the y-axis here. And I just put a lot of nice oil. It's such a wonderful machine. They're so much fun to run. They really are. And this one gets a little bit of oil here. Okay. Now, let's take a look at what we actually have when we start. By the way, let's just run this for a minute to make sure that the lubrication is kicking through. So we'll tension up the belt. Sounds good? Okay. Now, let's come over and talk about the work ahead here. What is going to happen in what order, so that you can have the fun of hearing that. This is a piece of bar stock, okay? And it's held in place by a collet, which is the safest way to use a lathe. It doesn't have those big jaws that grip, and that means it can't grab me and hurt me. I'll give you a close-up view of the lathe. So it's belt driven, which I like. For the work I do, it's fine. That's the mechanism that allows me to control the cutting tool, which is here, and I made that cutting tool so that it would just do exactly what I need done. And that's the tailstock is here, okay? And that's a drill bit. You might wonder, what's that there for? Why does he have that? Well, what I got to do here, the first thing is to come in and to put a hole in the back of the stock that I'm cutting. I have to put a hole back here because that's where that nub's going to go. Now, it's very important that it be kind of snug, not so tight that I can't get the button on when it's done and glue it, but it can't be loose either. So that's the first thing, and I'm going to flatten this back part off first and then start cutting into this to make the button. So I'll just carve it. What does a lathe do? Well, it's a machine that provides great pressure at a very small place, and it just, like a knife, it just cuts off the metal. So I think I can have you watch while I prep this one section here. We're at 9.